We're in.
Hey, folks.
Hi. Third time's a charm because we have tried to do this not once, but twice, and we will not be defeated a thrice time, which is why we are here on a virtual platform to try and make sure that all of our hijinks don't go awry. So welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Episode 4 after a long
Episode-
hiatus.
Yes.
Hiatus is a little longer than we had hoped due to technical
Intended.
difficulties, but yet here we are.
Yep.
So, our theme of the day is like fine wine. So, we're going to dive
Mhm.
into aging gracefully
Hmm.
and this season of fall and harvest. And we kind of thought this would be a fun
Transformation.
topic as both of our birthdays fall in the autumn. Mine passed a couple weeks ago now, and yours is coming
Yep.
up in about a month,
Yes.
exactly a month.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's roll into it. Where we've been
Let's do it.
um, on this hiatus, which initially was only the summer, but now seems like it's gone summer well
We're into
into.
the holidays now. Yeah. It was a longer hiatus. So where have you been? What have you been up to? What have you been doing? What have you been drinking? What have you been, what have you been experiencing?
Boy, so what have been pouring myself into these past
Exactly.
5 plus months? Well, let's see. Summer for me was pretty chill, laid back.
Mhm. Mm.
I guess like a nice, I don't know, light Pinot Grigio, let's say.
Ooh, and easy to drink, a light
Easy to
Pinot.
drink,
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so spent a lot of time outside, played a lot of pickleball,
Of course.
and shed a lot of bad habits, I would say. So, yeah, so
Tell
things
me
that I didn't.
more.
Yeah, so speaking of wine, I've kind of
Mm.
cut out my regular wine habit,
Okay. Okay.
which really was just a habit. I was just finding that probably like a lot of people, like during COVID, I kind of just got in the habit of having a glass of wine with dinner, and then that
Yep.
turned into I just had a glass of wine with dinner.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling great anymore physically. I don't know if that's part of the aging process.
Doesn't
Um
help.
yeah, so I don't miss it. I feel great.
Hmm.
We're exploring some non-alcoholic versions of
Yes.
wine
So
because we
many
do
new
love the
ones.
taste. Yeah. So that's one, and I really cut back on my social media this fall.
Queen. Yeah.
I know, right? Particularly Facebook. I took that off of
Yeah.
my home screen on my phone because, again, it was just like another thing that I was just checking mindlessly,
Right. You're not
no
present in even.
reason.
Yeah.
Really nothing
Yeah.
that interesting on there.
No.
Yeah, so those are just kinda some things that I'm shedding, so to speak, and then
Yeah.
what I'm pouring myself into. Let's transition and reflecting,
Mhm.
on kind of where I am, and really having a lot of fun supporting other women in my network.
Okay.
So, actually, some of the inspiration from this does come from a local winery in our area,
Yep.
Aquila's Nest, which is a women's owned
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And they have a wonderful wall in
Mhm.
the
Yes, it's very cute in
winery,
there.
and it says,
Yeah.
"Empowered women empower women."
Mhm.
And so it's just like a little homage to important women in the world. And so I don't know, I think that's been a lot of fun, sort of
Mhm.
uplifting some of the women in my network,
In your
in my
orbit.
friendship circle and professional networks that
Yeah.
are kind of doing some courageous things.
Wow.
Well, that's what
You've
I've
been
been pouring
busy.
myself into a bit. How about you?
I feel like you're like at a higher state of evolution than me right now. But my hiatus was good. It was busy. If I had to liken it to a wine vintage, I'd say it was kind of like a Sauvignon Blanc. It was crisp.
Ooh.
It was almost like a little bubbly. Sometimes has like a chaotic taste in your mouth, but it was fresh. And I think that was, pretty symbolic of the last few months. I traveled a bit, spent some time in Greece, which we love, which is always rejuvenating to be by the water and in the sun. We did a lot of cool things, visited a lot of people, but it was still really busy. It was, with the kids and just trying to occupy them. I feel like the time was gone in a blink. And so it was a nice hiatus. And I've started to work a little bit again after I had my professional transition in the spring. And so I'm sort of reintroducing a new professional component, which feels a lot different than I was used to, which was more of a, 9 to 5 in-person type thing. And this is a very different, more remote-based setup. And so I'm adjusting. And so it's been a real period of growth, I think, but also it's a lot of sameness, like because we're sort of in the grind of just being a family and getting things going. But it's been a nice break. I feel like I don't know how to account for all of the 6 months, but I know they happened. And so here we are now already into November, basically. Yeah, just kind of looking forward to the next, getting through the holiday season, which I always enjoy, but has its own stresses.
Mhm.
So, but I'm just glad to be kind of back doing this because we've been talking about it and we've been so planful about it. I think,
Yeah.
we should mention when we stopped recording in June, just out of sort of necessity of our schedules, I think we were both really surprised by a couple things. I think one was how much work it really involved to do this really well, and that we needed to kind of carve out very specific like planning sessions and like really be thoughtful about who we wanted to have join us. And then the second part was we were really surprised by how many people
Shannon,
actually cared.
I have to hold on.
Do it. I'm going to riff for a little. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to hold the show down for a minute. So, as Mary said, we're talking today about like aging like a fine wine. And initially, this happened because it was Mary's birthday, and we made this big plan to have a big return episode. And we do it on her birthday, and we had this adorable setup with all this wine around us, and she had a birthday crown on, and the video has been lost to wherever. Then we tried again last week, and the same exact thing happened. So we're doing it this way, but the premise is still, I think, important enough. And aging and sort of this transformation that we all go through seasonally feels very appropriate right now. We are in the throes of fall. We're actually having a proper autumn this year, at least in Connecticut, and it feels awesome, hence my very autumnal look. But there's a lot of things that, we've been reflecting on. Like I said, Mary had a birthday, mine's coming up. My daughter had a birthday recently. It's sort of the season of reflection about sort of time past, what you've learned, and sort of what you want to bring into the new year of your life. And so I've been doing a lot of thinking about aging in general, not in an obsessive way, because I've actually never had that big of a like profound relationship with the concept. I don't stress myself out about it. But, as you get older, as you feel your body getting older, which I do, I think it becomes harder to ignore. So while I want to be that person, that woman who feels very confident marching forward year after year, accepting everything that's happening to me by nature, sometimes it can be a big bummer. And I think that's been a big learning for me is, becoming more in tune with my body as I get older, being more respectful, listening to it more closely, knowing that this is all I got and it's gotta be my ride or die. So from here until whenever I'm blessed to be here. And I was just talking to people earlier this week about women, particularly women we see in the media, celebrities who are aging so beautifully. Like I am legitimately like attracted to older women like the Helen Mirrens of the world, the Andy McDowells, I'm blanking. Those are two of my favorites, so that's why I'm stuck on it. Oh, Jane Fonda. Like these women are iconic because one, they've really just embraced their own like inherent sensuality and sense of self and have really owned that territory of what it means to age with grace, which is hard these days because I mean, you're constantly fed, from a very young age that aging is something you don't want to do. And so I'm inspired by women like that. While at the same time, like it's hard to resist the temptations, right? It's hard to resist the lure of Botox to get rid of the wrinkles. Like I have more wrinkles now than I had ever in my life. Obviously, I should as you get older. I can't stand the ones above my eyebrows. Like there are things that I think about. And I'm like, oh God, if only I could just fill them full of Botox, I wouldn't mind anymore. But I don't want to do that. I respect everyone who does because everyone, do what you want to feel great and confident. But I'm not there yet. I want to feel like I'm 100% confident in myself as I move forward. But beyond just like the kind of standards of beauty that exist as women age and how they've changed, I did some research on some of the things that I feel like we get hung up as a society or the mythology we tell ourselves around what it means to age, particularly aging, maybe even as a woman, that there's a period of time where you suddenly hit a ceiling or hit a door and that's it, right? You no longer cease to exist as a full embodiment. But here's some interesting facts, okay? So I think what is most important to me is how do we show up in the world, not just from a physical appearance perspective, but like our whole sense of self. And a lot of that includes professional, right? A woman's desire to work how they want to work for as long as they want to work in whatever capacity they want to work is vitally important. And for someone who also is in this new period of her professional being, I guess you could say sort of an entrepreneur or exploring that at least. You always hear about the big tech sharks and these big giants who come out of MIT or come out of their business school at 24 and have this big idea and they're billionaires by 30. Absolutely the exception, but we forget that fact, right? So the average age of entrepreneurs is not 25. As, we tell ourselves it's 42. So I'm almost there, right? Like I'm almost there now. And that gives me hope, right? Because of course it's 42. Like you don't know anything at 25. These people who come out of business school and make money and hit the jackpot with some crazy idea, this is not normal. They are the anomaly, and God bless. And I'm proud of them. And we need them. We need those pioneers. But realistically speaking, of course, when you're 42, you have you have 2 decades worth of experience and you know how to bring that into a sharpened focus. So I'm just here riffing about some
Oh,
of my kind of revelations over the last few months. And I've been doing a lot more thinking about aging and not necessarily like wellness
okay.
and physical, but like I've been thinking about like what it means to be now for me in my 40s professionally. And I was saying the average age of entrepreneurs is not 25, it's 42. And like that's a
Oh,
mythology that we tell ourselves, that you've got to be the hotshot kid out of business school to hit it big and be successful when absolutely not. And then when you think about it, it seems common sense. Like, of course, successful entrepreneurs don't start until they're midlife because that's when you actually have shit to know. And so I had just been doing like all this reflection and I had done some research. So, the what's considered old, I guess based on some study, is that millennials, so my generation doesn't consider anyone old until they're over 60. And even then, I think that's pretty like
okay.
that's on the young. And then Gen Z says it's more like 70. So which is
Oh, that's
amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
But because it's really funny because boomers, like anyone over 40 was old. Like that was just sort of how they considered it. It was also like if you see pictures of your grandparents, or if I do back then, like they were 51 looking like they were 73. And it's like,
Do you ever
why?
see those memes or whatever, like, with the Golden Girls? It's like what the Golden
Yes,
Girls would look like if they
yes,
were, because they were, like, around my age when they were
yes. Yeah, they were their
in their
early
show.
50s. Yeah, yeah,
So now they show
yeah.
them, like, with, like, modern, like, hairdos and makeup and stuff, and it's
Yep.
amazing.
It's amazing.
I'm like,
I
"Wait,
know.
I would be a Golden Girl? That's funny."
Yeah, yeah.
So it
So
is
I don't know, just
interesting just
doing,
how, like, just all that wellness and how, um,
yeah.
like, that's all kinda shifting
It is
culturally.
shifting. I mean, at the same time, like I was saying when I was soliloquying, like I don't want to be someone who kind of falls trap to all of the, like cosmetic surgery, like the slowing down of aging. Like I actually really like getting older. I like aging. There's wisdom with it, there's confidence with it. But at the same time, it's such a attractive lure, because I also hate my wrinkles and I hate how I feel sometimes when I like stand up and make noises that I can't control, or like, so there's this like push and pull of I want to be the Jane Fonda and Andy McDonald's of the world and age beautifully with all my gray hair and stuff. But at the same time, like I don't. And so it's in social media makes that attractive lure like even sexier, like I want to reverse the clock if that serum's going to work when in reality none of it actually works. um so none of it works. So speaking of that, I'm
Well,
actually going
like,
to take
going
my
back to
shot of
our
collagen and biotin right now.
well, I have my collagen peptides in my morning cup of coffee, so
This is
there
the
you go. They
new
can't hurt. Yes, I've
these
been
are the kind of
also
shots I'm taking.
yeah, I'm taking, along those lines, shots of tart cherry juice in the evening. It's been a game changer for sleep, holy crow.
What is
So
this?
instead of my
Tart
nightly
cherry
glass of
juice?
wine, I have tart cherry juice and seltzer with a little lime. Yeah, there's a little
And it makes you
melatonin
go to sleep?
something in there. It gives you great sleep.
What? Oh, I'm gonna have to try that. Okay.
Yeah, you have to try that.
Wow.
So, all the things that we are
All the things.
harvesting in this, new New
in this chapter of life. Yes. God.
So speaking of, um,
Yeah.
like wines, if you had to match a wine varietal to your generation, what would that be?
You know, we've now done this 3 times, as we've noted, and
In 2 weeks, you're an answer, Jane.
yeah. And I keep changing my answer to this question. I think initially I had said a Cabernet Sauvignon. I think then last time I said Sauvignon Blanc. I think this time I'm gonna go with a garden variety table red. And for a couple of reasons. One, it's versatile, it's sociable, and it's like a contemplative type thing. So I think like nothing beats when you're at an Italian restaurant and you have some just nice table red, not an expensive bottle, just sort of like the cheap
Like
restaurant
a
brand,
Chianti?
a Chianti or maybe even like a light Merlot, and it's just going down really smooth and everyone sort of has a different experience with it. I feel that's sort of what millennials are. I feel we are incredibly versatile. I think we show up in very different ways for different people. And I think we are just very accustomed to being one with this new generation of social connection. Not as good as Gen Z, of course, but we were at the precipice of it all. And so I think we kind of are a representation of what a good just table vintage would be. We keep the
Nice.
conversation going. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. What about you guys?
I think for Gen X's, although my personal taste in wine has changed, I will say.
Sure.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna say my answer remains not as, you know, pretty steady with my answer, and I think that's a
Yeah, no.
nice,
So you're not a flip flopper like
Cabernet.
me. Yeah.
Although my personal taste has changed. I
Okay.
used to be a solid Cabernet, and then I went to a rosé, and
Yeah.
now I'm a little Sauvignon Blanc gal.
Yes.
Think Cabernet just because I think it's, like, classic, it's
Mhm.
reliable,
Mhm.
it gets better with time, and as we have
That's true.
noted, Gen X is having a moment right now.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
argue that
That's
we're getting better with time.
Yep.
So we're pretty resilient, steady, but we can still be full of surprises from time to time,
Oh,
so
goodness. What a metaphor. Wow. It's almost like
what do
you
we
had
think,
2
like,
other chances to rehearse
I had time to really think about
it.
what do we think Gen Z would be?
Oof.
I mean, I don't wanna speak for them, but if we had to
Oh,
throw a
boy.
varietal label.
That's a tough one because, 1, I don't think Gen Z, because of their age, has actually experienced wine yet. I know I didn't
They're not fully
discover
harvested?
What's that?
They're not fully harvested yet.
No, they haven't no, they haven't, they haven't had a chance yet to reach their full notes.
To breathe.
And but, like, they'll get there in their mid-20s as one does, and they'll start to discover, I think, but they also 1, we already know they're the generation that drinks the least, and so I'm having a hard time, I guess, predicting what they would be, but if I think about their behaviors or what we know of their behaviors, I think they would expect to be a really, like, full experience wine, like, because
Like
Gen
something
Z
really
wants
bougie?
yeah, like, they want the full experience. They want the bang for their buck. They want to feel connected to the wine emotionally in a way that perhaps we don't give a shit. And that's where I'm struggling. I'm not sure what kind of wine that is. Maybe it's not a white. It's gotta be some type of red, but I don't know. I don't know which one it would be. Maybe a very, like, theatrical Chianti or something. Yeah.
I don't know
We're
about
gonna need
that.
people to tell us what they
We'll
think
have to
Gen
think
Z's
about
wine
that.
is.
Yeah.
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 But so we
Viewers,
pivot
give us
to
your ideas in the comments.
yeah, exactly. Write down in the comments. Talking about aging for a second, like a fine wine, of course. Like, who were your aging role models growing up? Did you have any?
No. I mean, I don't think I thought about it that much. I
Yeah.
don't think it was really we thought about it that much or if at all, and I don't think it was, like, kind of part of,
Mm.
like, the societal conversation as much as
No,
it
it
is
wasn't. Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was thinking about that too. I was like, I don't remember being like, oh, that's how I want to age, like with this sense of purpose. I never thought about that. I mean, I'm thinking about it now, but
I
as a
mean, and even
kid,
at my age, in my mid pushing late 50s, I don't think about it a lot.
Mm,
Like, I'm not intentional about how I'm just kinda going about my life,
yeah,
honestly. And I know, like, I wanna be active and I wanna feel good and be there and
yeah,
show up with intentionality in all the aspects of my life,
yeah.
but I don't really think about it, and it's not framed around, like, aging so much. It's just kinda like I wanna
Make
today's
the
a good
most.
day to have a good day, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So maybe
Yeah,
that's reflective of our generation too, like, because it really
I hope
wasn't,
so. Yeah.
top of mind, I don't know.
It wasn't. I mean, and I think that was sort of what I was very long-windedly trying to get at before when I was soapboxing a little was I'm worried about like the Gen Z generation and mine, honestly, because there is such a focus on it. Like it is not good to age quickly, like in at least from a social perspective.
Well, I think that's so much framed around the influence of social media,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I
And
do
that's
I think it's something to be aware of, that this isn't it's what you're seeing on social media is not real life.
not real.
It's really just a money grab, and
Yep.
everyone's trying to get I've been guilty of it, like,
Oh God. The stuff
stuff
I
that
have
comes up
bought.
on my Instagram feed, "Oh, this trend for fall,"
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and I'm concerned about it with the young generation, like, all these, like, 10-year-olds in
Yeah.
Sephora, like,
Oh
what
my
is
God.
that?
Yes. Yeah. That's wild. That is nuts. I mean, I guess every generation, maybe, starting especially in the late 80s, 90s, like when malls became such a thing and stuff, like we all had our little things. When I was 10 or 11, it was everyone would go to Claire's, the stores in the mall, and you would buy a bunch of tchotchke shit, but it was accessorizing and it was,
But that's merchandise geared for that age, like, I think that's very
right.
different than, very
Yeah.
expensive skincare
Skincare and
br
like the
brands that
perfuming.
even have ingredients that probably I mean, I don't know,
I don't know.
probably
Yeah.
aren't really necessary for a 10-year-old skin.
No, no. I mean, I did not wear perfume or even body spritz until high school.
Yeah, that's like a middle school, high school thing, yeah.
And like you go into any Sephora and they sell those little, Sol de Janeiro stuff at $30 a pop. I mean, and every preteen I know has like six of them in their purse everywhere they go. And I'm like, what the? This is a bizarre, like, yeah, that is something I'm not, I don't
I'm
understand the
okay with
genesis
people
of.
wanting to smell good, though, I'm for that.
Yeah. I mean, no qualms with it. Just I can't. Although the other day I was like coaching basketball and there were a couple preteen girls there who clearly had done some spritzing before basketball. And so it's just not the smell that like you're expecting on a basketball court. Like you're expecting the BO and you're expecting, sort of that like primal smell in a gym, but you're not expecting like Brazilian cerulean to like whiff by you and like to feel like, is that coconut? Like it's just it's weird. And I'm like, God, like I'm so behind on this. So,
So
but
sticking with
yeah.
our wine theme and, generations, what's a stereotype with your generation that's starting to breathe a little differently with time? So we've talked about millennials getting a bad rap,
We really have, yeah.
you know, recently. It's getting better, I think.
It is getting better. And I would say, no, I mean, we have a, we've got a lot of stereotypes attached to us. I think to your point, one that we're shedding just by nature of aging out is that we are this young, money, consistent, high demanding type of generation. We're not. I mean, sure, people, individuals are, but as a lot, we're not. And I think finally other generations, X, boomers and otherwise, are realizing, oh yeah, like millennials, you guys aren't 25 anymore. You're actually well into your 40s with full families in many cases and leading organizations, and you actually like aren't the ones moaning and bitching and complaining. And so we're shedding that just by nature of growing up. And conversely, the other generations are realizing, like, oh, yeah, like we've been throwing them into a trap, or into a bucket
Yeah,
for,
I think that my generation or boomers are just throwing the term
yeah,
millennial around to any young person.
yeah,
Like, they don't really like, and it's not always applied as
No,
appropriately for, like, the age
no,
group.
no.
Alright, so that you're gonna let that breathe a little. We're gonna
I'm
let
gonna
that
let it
shift.
breathe, gonna let that aerate, and hopefully over time, we'll continue to kind of age ourselves into a beautiful state of maturity, and all the other generations can drop their hate.
Like a wonderful vintage that you are.
Exactly. What about you?
The vintage 1980s or whatever. That was, right, your decade you were born?
Yes.
Let's see. Needs to breathe a little differently. Maybe, I'm gonna be brutally honest, Gen X might just need to get over themselves just a little bit. I
Okay.
think we're
Yeah.
having, like, this moment, which is
Yeah.
great and fun, but I don't think we're all that, honestly.
No. Yeah, no. No.
Yeah, I don't know, I think they got this whole, like, we had it, so we were, like, neglected, and we figured it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
We drank out of the garden hose. Like, "Alright, enough already with that. We can let that
Like,
breathe."
everyone has their cross to bear. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was actually, kind of fun and carefree, so let's just let it be
Right.
like
Yeah.
that. And some of the nostalgia tied around that
Mm.
is framed around how non-resilient
The other
the other
generations are.
generations
Yeah.
are, but
Yeah.
my pushback is, well, we were the adults leading that, so we have to take some responsibility,
Ooh.
right? So
Yes.
we were parenting that, so we were doing the helicoptering and the fixing for the
Mm.
next generation. Um, I don't know. I'm
That's a
about full
very good point.
agency and taking accountability, so I do push back a little bit
Well, but I
with
think you're raising a really good point. That's like that intergenerational thing. So I mean, we forget that. I forget it all the time. Like generations are raising generations, and there is an accountability that we. It's so sexy of a thought to absolve ourselves of. I think because it's like, oh well, that's just me. I'm just being a millennial. Like my kids are Gen Alpha. I don't understand them. Well, no, you're raising them, and you need to invest in it and understand it, and then own the fact that your conditioning does play a role. It's not everything, there is nature and nurture, but like you're involved.
well, and every generation is being raised by the generation or 2 ahead of them that are not experiencing the world in the same way.
No,
So that's
not at
just a
all.
universal truth, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
with my kids, they're Gen Zs,
Hmm.
having come up really at the sort of at this cusp of the prevalence of social media and
Yeah.
phone and all the access to all the things, which is far more now, and the implications of that now are more known.
Yes.
But I didn't have a point of reference.
No.
Like, that wasn't a thing that I had. So, like, I kinda had to learn, like, they were ahead of the technology before me. Some of the negative consequences with the use of the technology at that time, it was just a learning curve,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the impact on that, right? So, they didn't need to go to, like, dances, let's say,
Hmm.
or go hang out with their friends because 'cause they're connected 24/7, right?
All
So
the
there's
time
just
in other
that's
ways.
just one
Yeah.
little example. So every generation is just gonna look on their time coming up with nostalgia as they get older.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just think it is what it is. It's just everybody has
Yeah.
their thing and their norm, and everybody
Yeah.
has their nostalgia for their time. So,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Gen
so on
Xers
that
need to
point,
breathe a little differently.
so, as a Gen Xer, as someone who just had a birthday, you're looking down the barrel at another year. You've gone through the last few months where you've had all these transformative things, you've changed some life habits. What are you looking to pour yourself into as you move through the next year?
Really really figuring out, like, my next thing that
Okay.
aligns with where I am
Mysterious.
where I am now, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like, like I have more freedom
Mhm.
than I had, p in the past 20 years, let's say.
Yeah.
Kind of shedding maybe some, like, identity professionally,
Mm.
and, excited about what's ahead. I just don't know what that is.
What it is. Yeah.
I joke, and I don't this must be something in my generation, but I was with a bunch of friends last night, and we were all pretty much in consensus. We're kind of like we're in our "we don't give enough" period, meaning,
Mhm.
like, can we get somebody hire somebody to clean the house because I really don't feel like anymore. I'm tired and I'm done, and I don't feel like cleaning the baseboards and washing the walls. Like,
Yeah.
this so stereotypical of Gen X. But
Yeah.
we were at a pickleball social last night, so we're
Yep.
like, we just all wanna be doing that, like playing pickleball or being
Yeah.
active or spending time
Yeah.
with friends or
Right.
reading or just all the other we wanna do everything other than what
Yeah.
we've been feeling tethered to.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
I think that that's what's in the year ahead for me, like, what does that really, like, all look like?
Look
I kind
like.
of shed
Yeah.
like a little shedding, like a snake,
Mhm. Okay. Ooh.
or
Ooh.
fermenting like wine, we'll stay on.
Okay. Yeah, fine. 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 I like that. That's exciting. I like that. And I think it makes me excited for you, but also deeply jealous because the tethering of which you speak, I am still very much in and will be for the next decade. And so just because that's my phase of life right now is I'm sort of in that throw of young kids in the house for another 8 to 10 years. Like I've got to do the work thing, you got to do the parenting thing, you're on the clock 24/7. Like, I know this is what's ahead of me, and that's fine. That's the life choice we made, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful. But
And it goes fast, so enjoy it. I know it's hard
I
to say when
know,
you're in the throes of it, but
I know.
you feel like you're on the endless hamster wheel, and then one day it
Yes,
ends. And
I know.
some people are sad by that. uh
Mm,
I was not sad by that, and that's not because I didn't enjoy it. I liked seeing my kids like, I felt like, "Okay, there is an end game to this, and the end
mhm.
game is for our children to be full functioning, good human
For
beings out
them
in the
to
world."
fly.
So when they start going
Yeah,
so when they're on that next phase, to me, that was fun to watch.
success. Yeah,
And, I was very intentional about my identity not solely being wrapped around.
right.
I mean, it's the most important job and the job I'm most proud of in my life,
Yeah,
but my whole identity wasn't wrapped around
right.
that. So I was also I was grateful for what had been and where we got, and I was eager for more, like, what's next?
Yeah,
And I recognize that that's not necessarily true for a lot of people in my
everyone.
generation, yeah. There's
Yeah,
some
I
real
think
sadness and grief and a little bit of
right.
identity crisis.
Yeah. But I think what you just very succinctly summed up a feeling I've had since I had kids 10 years ago was it was legitimately almost a deep fear of mine that I would as a mother, it would become the only defining trait of who I was as a person. Some of that was modeling some of what I grew up with, like some of it was that was the women in my life, like they had made those decisions, maybe by choice or not, and I saw that and I was like, I want more than that, but I also want this, and I think it's been a struggle because even when you are choosing to do as you described, like be present as a parent and also do the other. Like it's a lot of work and you're not always great at both. And it
No,
can be
I don't think you
overwhelming.
can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time,
No, exactly. And I think now my phase of life I'm in is what do I want to have right now? Because I can't have it all at once. So, what are those things? What are those very intentional, back to that theme, decisions I'm going to make about where I put my energies, what I focus on, what I want to see nourish now? Because I can't do it all. And so I think that's the season I'm in, which is I guess a revelation in itself, because if you know that and can decide that that's how you're gonna go forward in the next years, it takes some of the pressure off too, to
Yeah.
feel like you gotta
And then
do
you
it
can
all.
enjoy what you are
What
engaged
you've
in.
chosen to do, right, right. Because, like, for me this year, my one of my main goals that I've slowly started is I really need to nourish or fill my cup up with friendships. I think I've not been intentional enough with mine, probably for all of history, if I think about myself
Yes.
critically, but I particularly now as, person of my age, I think female friendships are everything. I think they are the foundation of society. But we could talk about that another day. But like I need to cultivate those. I need to kind of go back to the roots of the ones that I've always had and nourish those and feed them, revisit them, strengthen them, and then also forge new ones, which I'm not good at. And so I'm trying to cultivate that into my life. And so by doing little things like a little Lego ladies club and networking more, like trying to do things that are going to fill that cup up for me is my goal, because I think it's so important, not just for me personally, but everyone needs and wants that, particularly women in their age group of my zone. And we don't always know how to ask for it. And I feel like, fine, I'll just be the one to catalyze it.
And it's okay to pour out some that aren't serving you either.
Exactly. I think that's a key point. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
our friend hit the nail on the head, one of our acquaintances, when she said, like, in the mom network, she's like,
Yeah.
"Listen, I don't need necessarily friends.
Mhm.
I just need you to be my ally."
I love it. I love that so
So I
much.
thought that was, I respected that in terms of
Mhm.
boundary setting,
Yes. Yeah.
and, we can be supportive still,
Yep.
like, in this whatever
Right.
vintage we're in.
Exactly.
Whatever varietal we are, we don't have to all be brewing in the same cask, so to speak, but, just support
No.
each other. Yeah.
Right. We can all
Yeah, no, that
decant in the same thing, in the same vessel, but we don't have to be, like, up each other's noses all the
yeah.
time. So, I don't know
So,
if that
pouring
metaphor.
more into what you want and then shedding what's not
Yeah.
serving you.
Exactly. All right. All right, so what do we
Right.
have coming up? Because I already teased
We're
that we've
really
done.
excited. Well, yeah,
I
so
know.
as
What do we got?
as you mentioned, our hiatus wasn't just like, a hiatus, putting our feet up. We along the way, we're
We
always
did.
texting each other ideas
Yeah.
for podcasts,
Yeah.
and time just goes. It's crazy.
Yep.
And we communicate regularly and see each other
There we go.
regularly. It
No, it
still
was
goes fast, right?
right.
With all the things. So we did spend some time kind of cultivating some of our ideas and mapping out a plan. So we have some
Yeah.
really exciting episodes coming up.
Yep.
Um, how many? We probably have a good 5 or 6 planned out already. If I
We've got some really cool ones. So I'm so excited. We're going to have guests on, and we're going to talk about all things from traditions to what it's like to child raise across the generations. We're going to talk about
civic
sports,
engagement.
civic engagement. We're going to talk about gender identification. We're going to talk about some good stuff. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about all of the things that matter to at least everyone I know. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so we're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. So with that, we don't have our
off we
wine
go.
glasses but
Well, I have mine full of seltzer water, you know.
well, I have cold coffee.
There you go. If
It
that
might be
doesn't
a
say
beautiful
anything
mug
about
that
getting
one of my
older,
friends
nothing does.
made. Yeah.
Yay. All
So
right.
here's to the next vintage
Cheers.
era of, the XYZ.
Exactly. Cheers to
Bye,
finally
folks.
getting this episode in the can, God willing. Okay. Bye.